There's one number from yesterday I can't stop thinking about. 13,101. That's how many times the volatility index, the VIX, the thing Wall Street calls the fear gauge, got mentioned across social media in a single 24-hour window. That's a 52-week high, the most chatter the fear gauge has generated in an entire year. And here's the part that doesn't make sense. That same day, the S&P 500 closed at a record all-time high. The thing that the fear gauge is supposed to fear closed at the top of its own chart, while the conversation about fear was setting a one-year peak underneath it. Those things are just not supposed to happen on the same day. When they do, somebody's wrong. Either the price is wrong or the conversation is wrong. The job of the BuzzPulse system I built is to figure out which one. I'm Ken Carpenter. This is Invest AI Savvy, where AI powers smart investing. Welcome to Sunday, May 24th, 2026. Happy Memorial Day. Today on the Sunday Deep Dive, I want to take you inside the single piece of the BuzzPulse machine that is most relevant to what you're about to see Tuesday morning when markets open. The measurement is called Convergence. Now, standard reminder before we go any further, BuzzPulse is a research platform. I'm not your financial advisor, so nothing in this show is an investment advice. Please do your own due diligence before you buy or sell anything. Okay, good. Now, let me tell you what convergence actually is, and then I'm going to show you why that convergence light is flashing. Here's the thing about market data. There's just too much of it. On any given day, somebody in the world has a chart, an opinion, a leak, a rumor, a headline, a screenshot, a put wall, a gamma exposure, a CEO tweet, an analyst note, and then a TikTok telling you the exact opposite of everything above. That's not a market, that's a noise floor. The original idea behind BuzzPulse was simple. If 30 different signals are all making noise on their own, that's just noise. But if 6 of them or 8 of them or 12 of them suddenly point at the same thing at the same time, that's not just noise anymore, that's convergence. The math has a word for it. Math calls it a low probability event. Plain English, it means the universe is whispering the same sentence into multiple microphones at once. And that doesn't usually happen by accident. So we built layers, 18 of them: price action, volume, options flow, chatter, engagement, sentiment polarity, sector rotation, news velocity, crypto pair correlation, 18 different ways of looking at the same asset, each one blind to the other 17. The system runs every 6 hours and asks a single question. How many of these layers are pointing at the same name in the same direction? If the answer is 2, that's a coincidence. And if the answer is 5, then that's something. If the answer is 9 or 10, that's what the system locks in on at 1 a.m. Pacific time as the signal of the day. Now, here's the part that took the longest to get right. Convergence doesn't always mean go. Sometimes convergence means run. The same map that flags a stock on the way up flags a market on the way down. And that's what makes yesterday's number, 13,101, mentions of the fear gauge on the same day the index hit a record, so interesting. So let me walk you through how the system read it, because the conversation was not just loud, it was dramatically loud. BuzzPulse breaks every social conversation down by theme. On the bullish side of the S&P, the system saw exactly what you'd expect on a record high day. 35% of the supportive sentiment was technical traders calling for sustained upside, gamma squeeze talk, relief rally calls, buy the dip, trust the trend, don't bite the tape. That is the story the price action tells you when an index breaks out. It's the obvious story, but then flip the card. Of the bearish sentiment underneath that same record high, 25% was calling out heavy put walls, record short positioning, and a looming bull trap. Another 25% of the 13,101 was geopolitical and policy risk, unresolved Middle East conflict in the Strait of Hormuz, Tulsi Gabbard resigning as Director of National Intelligence, the Senate trying to pass an Iran war powers resolution, reported consideration of new military strikes against Iran, Iranian airspace going empty. That's not the conversation retail has when retail is celebrating a record. That's a conversation institutions have when institutions are positioning defensively. And then the convergence layers fire. Mentions on the fear gauge up to 13,100. Engagements up 23% week over week. The dominant theme inside the volatility conversation at 30% is panic and extreme fear. Another 22% is geopolitical risk. Now stack one more layer underneath all of it, the flight to safety layer. Tether Gold, a tokenized gold contract, BuzzPulse is showing it at $4,499.90 an ounce. Sentiment 100% positive. That's not a fluke print. That's somebody, a lot of somebody's, parking money in something that does not need a power grid to settle. And Bitcoin. Bitcoin closed Friday at $75,400, down 3.6% on the week, 40% below its October 2025 high of $125,000. The risk-on crypto trade is broken right now, and BuzzPulse is showing the chatter confirms it. The SEC delaying the tokenized stocks framework kicked Bitcoin lower into the weekend, and the regulatory overhang from the Clarity Act amendments is sitting on the whole sector. So now you can see the full convergence picture the way the system sees it. The price layer is at a record high. The fear conversation layer is at a 1-year high. The hard asset layer is bid hard. The risk on crypto layer is broken, and the macro catalyst sitting underneath all of it is generating nearly 500 million engagements units on the Iran story in a 24-hour window. The convergence layers report a setup where the surface and the substrate are pointing in opposite directions. This is what BuzzPulse was built to catch, not the trade, the divergence. Here's what I trust about the math, and here's what I don't. Here's what I trust. When 18 layers are reading off the same script, the probability that they are all wrong at the same time is very small. Convergence math has the same property whether you're looking at a single small cap industrial or you're looking at the entire S&P 500. If multiple independent measurements agree, the underlying signal is real. The system is not telling you which way it resolves. The system is telling you the current state is unstable. Now, here's what I do not trust. Convergence math cannot tell you when. It can tell you that the configuration is rare. It cannot tell you whether the resolution comes Monday at the open or Wednesday on a headline or 3 weeks from now on something nobody's watching. I've looked at the data and I'll tell you honestly, I don't know if Tuesday resolves this. I'm watching it with you. What the system is saying in plain English is this. The bullish story is the one being told out loud, and the bearish story is the one being told everywhere else. When those two stories are being told this loudly at the same time, on the same day, by the same crowd, the market is in the configuration where regime changes happen. Not when everything is calm, not when everything is panicking, when the surface and the substrate are pointing in opposite directions. Now, one housekeeping name on a note I've mentioned before, JetBlue, ticker JBLU. BuzzPulse is showing it closed Friday at $5.10, up 10.3% on the week on merger speculation and aggressive call buying. If you were tracking that name as a bearish setup, the tape moved against the thesis. That's what the honest scoreboard looks like. The data is what the data is. We log it, we keep going. So here's the thing I want you to leave the weekend with. A record high on the price chart and a 52-week high in the fear conversation, printed on the same day, is not a market. It's a question the market has not answered yet. Tuesday morning is when somebody starts to answer it. Thanks for watching. Happy Memorial Day. We're going to be off the internets tomorrow watching the Indy 500. I'm Ken Carpenter. This is Invest AI Savvy, and that's the way it is.